this law of reproduction is this idea that leaders who develop leaders, they multiply, right? To add growth, you have to have followers. To multiply growth, you have to have leaders. So it's the difference between followers math and leaders math. Followers math is about addition. Leaders math is about multiplication. So you could ask the question, why do some leaders they attract followers and other ones attract leaders? And I think there's several reasons for this, according to John Maxwell and his 21 principles of leadership. The first one really is desire, the desire of the leader. So if you are a leader and you're attracting followers, one of the reasons is that, leaders that go down that road, they need to be needed. Right? They want followers to tell them how important things are. They get their ego satisfied by the words they hear. They get energy from the praise of others. And the main difference is that leaders that attract other leaders, they actually want to be succeeded. They actually hope that others do better than they do. And they actually get energy from others, passing them and go moving on beyond them. So that's a massive difference in terms of the attraction between followers and leaders. The other idea and the other aspect of it is this idea of focus. So leaders of followers tend to focus on the weaknesses of people. They look at it and they're in counseling mode. The challenge with that, though, is that when we focus on weaknesses, and let's say hypothetically, in an area of someone's gifting, they are a 2 out of 10. We've learned from the past conversations, if you go to training, you go get educated, you go learn, but you focus on the weaknesses, you might be able to get from a 2 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10, maybe a 4. You've made progress, but the reality is no one's going to pay for that. When was the last time you went out and you said, let's just go to an average restaurant? Like my wife, she is all about the Yelp, the more reviews. She's looking for 5 stars, knock it out the park, at least a couple hundred reviews. We don't go to average restaurants where it's a 3 star. They got average service, they got average vibe, they got average food. Like we don't do that, right? And the same thing is true with us, is that we don't want to be average. We certainly don't want to experience average, and we don't want to be, and our clients don't want average either. And so what leaders do that focus on developing other leaders is they focus on the strengths of people. They focus not on just counseling, but they focus on equipping and developing. So if you are a 7 out of 10, you could probably grow to an 8 or 9. And guess what? People are willing to pay for 8, 9 out of 10 service. People will pay you to listen to you. People will pay to know how you think. People will pay for your advice and opinions. It's funny because John Maxwell says he loves to sing, and yet he considers himself probably a 2 out of 10 on singing. So no matter how much he improves, he just ain't gonna get anywhere above close to even probably even average. And then he jokes around and says, and here's the thing. He makes a lot of money speaking and people will pay for that. But if he comes in and says, "Hey, I'm doing a concert," and the whole thing is just gonna be about me singing, no one's gonna show up. No one's gonna pay for that. Right? So sometimes our culture has focused on developing our weaknesses, and yet the reality is we've got to be better at focusing on our strengths and of elevating those areas that we are good at. We got to become equippers. So in leadership, focusing on followers is that actually it's an issue also of priorities. Because focusing on followers, you focus on the bottom 20% and developing them. Whereas if you have a focus of developing leaders, you focus on the top 20%. In terms of abilities, followers, you can have good leaders. But if you're going to attract and develop and have other leaders and multiply that, you're going to have great leaders. And probably this is related to the law of magnetism, because if you are 4 out of 10, you're probably only going to attract 3 out of 10 followers, because that's all they can attract. Your attitude is going to be, if you're attracting followers, you're going to lift up, they're going to try to lift up themselves, make themselves look good, the leaders look good. Whereas leaders of leaders, they lift up others. There's a difference in how they view time. A leader of followers will spend time with people. A leader of leaders will invest time with people. And there's a world of difference between the two. In terms of expectations, a leader of followers will ask for little commitment. A leader of leaders will ask for much commitment. Even their leadership style is different. So a leader of followers will lead everyone the same, whereas a leader of leaders leads everyone differently, because not everyone's motivated by the same values, right? They lead based on who you are. And one of the most important things is impact. A leader of impact, a leader of followers, they impact the people that are around them. They impact those that they personally know. Whereas a leader of leaders, they impact the next generation. They impact people far beyond their reach. So if we think about it from a market center standpoint, you've heard me say, I've learned more about leadership here at KW than anywhere else. And we want to develop leaders. We've turned our training and we've really had a focus on the top 20%. It's still open to all, because our goal is to elevate the training, to train you how to think like a top 20%, to act like one, and to grow as someone who's in the top 20. Our goal is to develop leaders that will naturally pour into others around them, have a culture of leadership, have a culture of agents helping other agents, a culture of development and growth. But also we want people to impact not just people today, but to have a lasting impact that goes beyond what I can do and focuses on what the people that we touch can do. From an agent standpoint, right? We want you to grow in your leadership, because we know that your business grows to the extent that you do. And as you grow, you'll be able to serve others at a higher level. You're going to have a vision and a clarity for people that you serve. You're going to have your priorities straight so that you can help others at the highest level and not be too busy to help them. You'll also be better at your home life to love those that are most important to you. You'll also have built trust, the law of the solid ground, because we know that trust is the foundation of leadership, and we'll be increasing our influence as we grow in that area. We've learned to earn the trust of others because we've grown in our leadership, in our own businesses, and we'll also impact those that are around us, right? The relationships with so many people, not just all our clients, right? But our family, our friends, our neighbors, our vendors, we still influence them and we make a difference in people's lives. The things we learn are things we impart to others. And we never know how we influence others, right? But we do by the words we say, the thoughts we think, and the things we do to help others, whether it's real estate or not. But we're multiplying ourselves, we're multiplying our values, we're multiplying our love, we're multiplying our service and our influence, not just here, but also outside the walls of our homes and our offices. So that's the value of multiplication, right? That's the law of reproduction. And here at our offices as agents, we want to reproduce. We want to multiply our leadership. We want to multiply our values and our vision and our culture and our love and our service, so that our impact is not just to the families we're serving, but even to the generations beyond that. There's a story about a Frenchman. His name was I can't even pronounce it. Elziard Bouffier, right? And he's going off into the hills of Provence in France, in the Alps. And as he's walking through, he's asking the question what to do with life. And he's walking into these hills, this barren landscape. He's asking the question, how can anyone live here? And he saw this guy out there as a shepherd with a sheep. And he's watching the old man. And the old man was walking around, and every now and then he would pause. He would use his staff, his little shepherd's crook, to make a hole in the ground. And he would drop something in that hole. There's a little seed. And he goes up to him and he says, "What are you doing?" And the shepherd looks around and he sees the barren land and he goes, "I'm going to replant the forest of Provence." Well, he didn't think much about it because the land was so barren, and he walked away. Many years later, after World War I, he went on a retreat to recover. He went back to that same place, and now he saw that it wasn't quite as barren, but there was a little bit of grass, there were some springs, there were some saplings, a little wooded area. And he kept looking around in his retreat, and he noticed an old man leading the sheep, dropping seeds into the ground. And he went over to that man. He goes, "Hey, didn't I see you like 10 years ago?" The guy smiles a little bit. He goes, "How do you like my forest?" Well, it was not really a forest. It was just the saplings and some bushes and things like that. But it was nice. It changed. And then in 1945, after the First World War, he went back to the area of Provence. And as he entered into that space, he saw this huge forest. The wildlife had returned, trees and springs everywhere. And as he's looking around, he went to the edge of the forest, and there over in the corner, just this old man bent over, barely moving, leading his sheep, barely able, and he's got his staff, and he's again making a hole in the ground, dropping something into the hole. And he was recognized by the nation for his contribution for replanting the forest of Provence. You see, he decided that he was committing himself over a lifetime of just planting seeds and letting them multiply and reproduce. But the fruit of his work was only to be able to seen at the end of it, that you could see what he had done over his lifetime. For us, we may or may not see it, but the goal of the law of multiplication is to plant those seeds. Is to plant those seeds into the future leaders. Is to plant the seeds into the values and the culture that we're trying to create. Is to plant the seeds not just for this generation, but also for the next generation and the generation beyond that. And we have the ability, we have the platform to make that impact here and today. So my question is this: what seeds are you planting that can multiply? What leaders are you investing in? Who are you impacting in your business, in your family, in your friends, in those that you're coming around on a day-to-day basis? Because I believe that we're dropping a stone today, and the ripple effect is starting to move through Candace, through Diane, through Reed, through Angelica, through Edie, right? And we may not see the results today. We may not even see the results tomorrow. It may be years from now. But that's the beauty of the law of reproduction, is that we're dropping that stone and things are reproducing, things are multiplying, and we're going to make a big impact and difference into the lives of others. That's what I got.